Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Rejuvenate Edition 2. We are at the tail end of day one, and it has been an amazing day that we've had. We've got fantastic guests from South Africa. We've got amazing Malaysians who have come on board and shared stories with us as well. And I am so happy to welcome a very dear friend who has we've worked together before, and I've been following the progress of Gajen, and amazing. Gajen, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks a lot, Andrew, for inviting me. And hello to all the virtual guests who are listening, tuning in right now. I'm Gajen Nad, virtual comedian, MC, trainer, content creator. Yeah.
Seriously? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, great, fantastic. You have already told our audience who you are, but I guess we probably need to know a little bit more. But I am going to try and do justice to your bio and your profile, and kind of introduce you to our audience as well. As Gajen rightly mentioned, he is today a virtual stand-up comedian, MC. He is a trainer and a content creator, right? Multi-talented, right? He has been doing stand-up comedy for nearly 10 years now. Of course, pre-pandemic, when we were able to travel freely and whatnot, he has performed in Singapore, in Hong Kong, in Philippines, in India, and Australia. I got that right,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah, correct.
Gajen?
Yeah.
Okay, and in 2019, he was awarded Most Promising Stand-Up Comedian by Top 10 Malaysia. That
Yeah.
is an amazing feat. And in 2020, obviously, he pivoted to virtual comedy and has then been performing for big firms. I'll keep those names for you to run us through later on. But Gajen, I suppose for the benefit of our audiences who are not in Malaysia, who is Gajen Nad? Give us a brief background about perhaps let's start off with education. I don't know how many people in school ever dream of being a stand-up comedian. So maybe you can share a little bit with us about that. And before you became a stand-up comedian, obviously, what have you been doing?
Yeah.
Over to you.
I think this starts off back in high school. So even in high school period, I was in Malaysia. We have this term called kayu. Kayu directly translates to wood, but there's an indirect meaning. It means that you're a very straight person, and no humor. This guy is a kayu. So I used to be that guy. I was a school prefect. I was like an assistant troop leader in scouts. So the very what do you call that, disciplined kind of guy. But there was a funny side of me, but not so funny. In scouts, we have this thing called campfires. Not an actual campfire during my time. It was more of like singing, dancing, and also doing sketches. And I'm one of the few scouts during my time who have won like best campfire. Usually, you win best campfire if you have a very good dance or if you have good humor. So I like dancing, and apparently my humor was good. When I look back at the sketches, I feel like stabbing myself. But apparently it was funny at that time. Who knows? Whatever. Yeah. So I think it started off from there, and then I only knew as comedy. That's it. The only thing I know about funny is just comedy. I didn't know anything more about it. And then in college, when I was doing my foundation, my pre-U, I was doing A levels, Cambridge A levels. One of my classmates found me funny, and she told me, Gajen, I think one day you should try stand-up comedy. And I have no idea what stand-up comedy is. I say what it is, and she was like, someone goes up on stage, holds the mic and just tell jokes. And I said, oh, okay, very similar to being a politician, except that one is you're being aware, another you're not being aware. But yeah, I'm a late bloomer. A lot of people know what stand-up comedy is, but me being in college, I didn't even know what it is. That's a key point, I guess, in my stand-up comedian life. Another key point will be in 2008. I think I watched my first stand-up comedy show. It was Russell Peters' 45 minutes clip. Now I'm not sure if you remember social media back then. YouTube was just starting back in 2008. No, it was very early. There were very few YouTube users. I was one of them as well. I created my account, and that's one of the videos that I first watched. And mind you, back then to upload a 45 minutes clip is very rare.
Mm.
It's they had some limitations, but I have no idea how the clip went up. And that it was that clip that boosted his what do you call that? His marketing and branding side.
Correct.
So I watched the video and I forgot what's the title of his 1 hour special, but he was him wearing a white shirt and jeans. So after I watched the video, I found it funny. And then for my auntie's 70th birthday, I told some jokes. A lot of them are internet jokes. So this is a big no-no in the stand-up comedy, but I wasn't a stand-up comedian back then. I didn't know, so I was like very naive. So that was a bit about myself. And then when I went to university, there was a show called Monash Talent Night. Monash is Australian university, is a group of 8. I did everything in Malaysia. We have a campus here in Malaysia, though you can
Mhm.
do a twinning program in Australia. So I did everything in Malaysia. So there was a show called Monash Talent Night, and there's one thing in me that I don't like to do what the majority does, because I have this principle, you only live once, you might as well do something different. So initially wanted to do just a dance performance, because in 2009, unfortunately, the same year Michael Jackson passed away. So I thought, hey,
Mm.
why not do a tribute? But then I also don't want to do something mainstream like dancing. So I thought, hey, why not I just tell some jokes? So if I was given 8 minutes, so I did 4 minutes Michael Jackson dance, 4 minutes
Mhm.
telling jokes. This time the jokes were definitely better than the previous birthday party, because I think half of it was original. I wrote it by myself. I didn't know what was jokes that time. At that time, it was just funny stories. And then the other half were also internet, right? And I wasn't a stand-up comedian back then. And interestingly, I won second, and the university kept asking me to perform again and again for the yearly events. But back then, I still don't know what stand-up comedy is. I just know I go up there and just make people laugh, as simple as that. And then someone saw my video on YouTube. I recorded, posted on YouTube, and someone messaged me, "Why not you perform in a legit stand-up comedy show in public?" And then in Malaysia, we have this mall called Publica, and there's a cafe there called The Bee. So they used to have a monthly comedy show there, and it was an
Mhm.
open mic comedy show. So I know we have international folks here from various countries. If you didn't know what open mic is, put it really simple. It's like an internship program for stand-up comedians. That means anyone can go up on stage and tell jokes, including y'all who are listening right now.
Yeah.
So I was no one that time. So I went to the open mic slot, given 3 minutes. I did well, and from there, the most senior comedians like Dr. Jason, Kavin J, who
Mhm.
are both on Netflix now,
Yep.
kept asking me to perform again and again. And then from there,
Nice.
it just started building. And 2012 was my first comedy show, February 2012. So it's coming close to 10 years now. So at that time, I was a final year mechanical engineering student, then graduated as an engineer. Never worked as an engineer though. I worked in Accenture, an American consulting firm. So I was an IT consultant, was doing it part-time. Then after 6 years of doing stand-up comedy part-time, I decided to make the big jump and do it full-time.
Gajen, I have 2 questions from that story.
Yeah.
Do you still remember that first 3 minutes in a
Ye-
legit?
Uh, yes, I've already, like, what do you call that? I've retired those jokes. Number one is because now come to think of it, I think some of it were quite crude, right? But because Malaysia's stand-up comedy scene is still at a very birth stage at that time. I mean, now it's still at a birth stage, but we have matured in but in the birth stage, I think more towards the end. I think in a
Mhm.
few years' time we'll get off the birth stage, hopefully. So I've put those jokes away, and I wouldn't want to mention any of those jokes. It may seem harsh. Another reason, some of it may seem cheesy, which I don't do. Like low hanging fruits. So that is something that I don't do anymore. But yeah, at that time, at that particular scenario, apparently they laugh. In a way, it's good, because every time I look back at my performance and I look and I tell myself, "Hey, did I say that?" It also shows growth.
Yeah.
So in a way, that's a good thing. So if you look back at 10 years ago and you were proud of it, maybe time to step out of your comfort zone. Yeah.
So it's interesting that you describe it that way, because it has never crossed my mind. You were just giving a few terminologies earlier. Low hanging fruits kind of jokes.
Yeah.
Of course, we all know the crude jokes, right? I guess we all learn the best, especially when it comes to different languages. The crude jokes are always the best way to learn a language. But
Yeah.
it's very interesting how you put it that way. I've never thought of it that way before. So that I guess in your mind, when you work out a show or or a performance, you kind of go through that whole system of putting it into files, like what kind of jokes, what kind of categories, I suppose.
Oh, yes. I guess to explain that, most people will not know is because only stand-up comedians will know, because as you progress, because to be honest, stand-up comedy is one of those things where there's no school for it. In the more in countries like America, what do you call it, UK or Australia, where it's more mature, you'll have classes or you have courses, maybe, right? But you won't have like a comedy school. Yeah, maybe there is, but it's going to be very rare as opposed to say engineering, law, or even other entertainment things like you want to learn how to play a musical instrument. There are schools, so it is difficult to understand. So to explain in that way, I'll give you a tip, right? Like if you look at social media, we use a lot of puns as jokes. Now you can go up on stage and tell a pun joke, but in the stand-up comedy world, a pun joke it's like level 1. So I think in your first 2 years, if you use a pun joke, then I think you can get away with it. But as you move on, not to say that you can't use pun jokes, you can, but it shouldn't be the main meat. It should play the role of a garnish. You get like a side. It shouldn't be like Iron Man or Thor. It should be a Hawkeye. I don't know. I just pissed off Hawkeye fans, which is like probably 3. I don't know. Oh, boom, drop. But yeah, you get my point. Even
Yes.
and to validate this point, you just watch Netflix specials. You don't hear any pun jokes, right? So these are different levels of it. For example, like when Donald Trump was no longer in office, right? Stand-up comedians were like, finally now the late night show writers will have to write proper jokes. So why they're saying this is because if you tell a joke about Donald Trump, it's a low-hanging fruit. You know you can easily, what do you call it, get the laughter. So yeah, so as we progress in stand-up, the comedy line, there are things where we label as low-hanging fruit, and a good comedian will know that's a low-hanging fruit. Sometimes we accidentally say some of those low-hanging fruit jokes, and then the clap is louder than usual, and then we feel bad internally. So yeah, so to explain that, yeah, we grow as time passes by, and yes, we do categorize them as which jokes for which crowd. Sometimes you can hit the middle line. Like thankfully during this whole pandemic, I've hit a middle line where I can perform jokes that be it whether it's local or international, and those jokes have got some local elements to it. So I'm thankful, which also shows growth, because those days I will need to tweak my jokes a bit for either kind of the crowd. So yeah, this is just to explain, the stand-up comedy path it's sort of like unknown, though there are certain bits of it. The base, the base path is, you first need to come up with a 3-minute set, and then 5-minute set, and then 10, and then 20, and then half an hour, and then 1 hour. And then as you do that, you'll need to perform for comedy shows, corporate shows, different locally, internationally, and that's about it. The rest is entirely up to you, how you want to maneuver in and out. Yeah.
Fascinating. It's so refreshing to hear this part. I mean, because people identify with you up on stage, and obviously in this day and time, people identify with you exactly like how they identify with you now, right? In a square Zoom box. But there's so much thought put behind that one performance. It's fascinating. You mentioned engineering, and you mentioned never got there. What was the reaction like at home?
Okay, so maybe I'll start off with why I chose engineering is because number one, I'm a car enthusiast. So interestingly, among all the interests that I have, including stand-up comedy, cars would be like my number one biggest interest. Yeah, I know it's a bit shocking. Oh, stand-up comedy, because like I became a car enthusiast since 6 years old. There was a game called Need for Speed, not the latest one, the old one, the Electronic Arts Need for Speed 1, where they use real cars to shoot the video and not CGI. And those cars are damn expensive. That's when they had budget for all this video and all that. So I became a fan of it. And yeah, I became a content. So that is something related automotive, engineering. That's one. Another second point is I used to watch, was it Discovery Channel or National Geography? There was this show called Mega Factories. And in this show, Mega Factories, they showed literally the best factories, not just in size, but the tech of it. And I started seeing, I think, Porsche or Ferrari, where inside they even have like a jungle to keep the humidity level good. And then it was so clean. There's like automated. In fact, their factories are cleaner than our offices, right? So that was me being a naive little boy, like, I want to build an engine. I want to be in that factory, right? And then when I study engineering and we have companies that come and do road shows, and then I look at the slides, those factories look rubbish. So that's one of the reasons why I did engineering. Now, the question of why I didn't become an engineer, it's not that I didn't want to. I was actually I was applied to nearly all the automotive companies. And sad to say, very few replied. So that's when I started. So I was actually jobless for 6 months after getting a mechanical engineering degree, right? So I was applying to many companies. In fact, I even remember the stats. I applied to more than 200, I think around 205 to 210 companies, right? Out of 205 to 210, I think maybe 20 to 30 replied. Out of 20 to 30 replied, I was given 3 interviews. Out of the 3 interviews, I got a job offer for 2. The other one I didn't attend because the deal came in quite late. So out of the 2 job offers that I got, one of it was an engineering role to work in a local firm. It was Kavin J's company. He didn't own the company, but he used to work there. Kavin J is a stand-up comedian. For those who are tuning in from who are outside of Malaysia, he's a Malaysian stand-up comedian. Has a Netflix special, and he's an engineer. On paper, he's a marine engineer, if I'm not mistaken. But in that company, he was designing stuff on AutoCAD, and that company does logistics that's related to refrigeration. I think there are certain goods that requires a certain low temperature. Example like seafood. So so I got a role in that company, and compared to Accenture, so it's like a no-brainer to pick Accenture, an American firm with such a much better background and what do you call that, branding as compared to the other company. So that's the reason how I went into consulting. Yeah.
I see. Now, obviously, pandemic hit. Before the pandemic, I mentioned earlier from your bio, you've been traveling all over the region to perform shows and whatnot.
Yeah.
I suppose what's the feeling like? It's very different when I'm laughing and clapping over a Zoom screen, and you literally, having girls holding up their hand and wanting to touch you when you're up on stage.
No lah, during our comedy shows, we are not that happening lah, bro. Those only happens during like big concerts. If you happen to be Bruno Mars, then yes. If you happen to be some random dude like me telling jokes, then no. It's usually couples. Yeah, couples.
Okay lah, curl the hair a little bit. Can lah, Bruno Mars, a bit of low lighting,
No lah, if I were to start singing, I think a lot of your eardrums will start bleeding, and then you will start complaining to me because they are not covered by a medical insurance company. So yeah, but anyway,
but you get the idea.
Yeah. The difference is, so maybe initially we didn't know how to do it, and a lot of us didn't buy it, right? So last year, April, by the way, for the international folks, just to give you a bit of background, in Malaysia, we had a movement control order, which literally translates to lockdown in middle of March 2020. So initially, I thought it was like a holiday, right? I thought things are going to get back to normal. And then in April, okay, maybe I'm monitoring, worldwide stuff and all that. Okay, things are not going well. So all stand-up comedians in Malaysia, like from Harith Iskandar, Douglas, the OGs to an open micer, we were all on Zoom and we were discussing what's next, right? And we didn't know how to do it initially. And it's because one thing about attending a stand-up comedy show is, hearing like dozens or sometimes even hundreds of people laugh. That energy is insane. I've been to a football stadium of 100,000 people, and to sing the national anthem and to hear people clapping, it's insane, that energy. A lot of people forget that you're also paying for that
Mm.
environment feel. You're not
Yep.
just paying for the performance, right? So that's one thing. We didn't feel that energy. Second thing is, we did we did try a few virtual comedy shows initially, and they were very jagged in a way. It's like one of those early concept cars that you see. It's damn ugly, but you just want to test things out. It's trial and error. It's very much like, your agile methodology, uh, where you just keep going, something, a short timeline to just test out a certain product feature. So yeah, we were just doing that. First thing we tried is everyone unmuted on Zoom, and it's a havoc in the sense that I realize an average person will have background noises.
Mm.
In this case, we are quiet because I guess we are professionals, right? We are using high tech mic, and we know we're in
Mm.
a quiet environment.
Mm.
But not the case for any corporate folk. And someone who's working from home will probably use regular mic, which will take in more noise. Doesn't come with a pop filter. And then background, you've got kids running. Today I was just watching a
Mm.
video, a kid destroying a TV to help Ultraman. So you never know. You could be in a meeting, right? You could say, we need to boost our quarter four sales. And then you see your 60-inch TV being destroyed. Ah! And people be like, what happened? But quarter four sales is still ongoing. But yeah, you get my point, right?
Yeah.
So things were very havoc, and we didn't know how to do it. And a lot of other problems also. Another problem is the resolution of the video resolution was so poor, because let's all be honest, laptop webcams, most of them are rubbish, right?
Mm.
Because that's not the priority. Yeah, your webcam is on your screen, which is so thin and small. The amount of light
Mm.
going in is very little, so it's all pixelated. And I asked myself, do I want to watch, I myself as a stand-up comedian, do I want to watch virtual comedy at that point in time in this format? And the answer is no.
Mm.
So we had to resolve a lot of things. Like, one thing, I had to use an external webcam. Like right now I'm using like an external webcam, like Logitech Brio, which can shoot in 4K by shooting in 720. But because it has a bigger lens, more light can come in and it's clearer.
Mhm.
And now I would watch myself, okay, not in a dirty way, everyone calm down, but yes, you get my point. It's better resolution. It's the same thing with the mic, right? So I started upgrading my webcam, my mic, and then I realized I think people need to be muted,
Mm.
and the host will then ask the audience to just laugh in the chat box. Now, of course, emojis is another way, but the chat box I would prefer, is because you're investing more energy by typing on the keyboard, as
Mm.
opposed to just spamming the clicks on your mouse. That's one. Number two is you get to see the chat box scroll bar, which is another form of seeing your energy during the event. Pump, 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 pump. You see, it's like Forex or some stocks, stocks market, which is nice. It's a form of energy. So we did that, and then it started to work. But with that being said, if you ask me, a physical show or a virtual show, obviously a physical show for the experience. But in this scenario, at least we found a way to pivot to the digital world. Okay, so there was a comedy show that we did, and we were still halfway through this process of whatever we said, right? Whatever I said, the outcome of a virtual comedy show, we were
Mhm.
still halfway through. And I watched one of my friends who's from Hong Kong. His name is Vivek Babubani. He did his 5 minutes comedy set, and I would say, okay, among all the performance that I've watched, this is one of those shows that I'll watch. And I asked myself, what did he get right? So he got his video right. It's damn clear. He was using a mirrorless camera with a cam link, right? And behind is all blur. He was using those. I'm not a camera guy, lah, but those what f2.0 or something like that. And then
Mm.
after that, he was using literally a stage mic. I think it's a condenser mic or whatever. He also had like a converter, and then he had nice RGB lighting behind him, right? And there's all right, and his jokes were short, crisp, and all that. I was like, okay, this is finally something that I would watch. And then he had a virtual live show that he did on his Facebook page, not a comedy show, a live show, and it was so fun. He was just like bullshitting the whole way, and then he had graphics come on, like for this, love for this, and then like two cans, and then he'll just drink on the spot. like some branding thing. And then I realized that he's also a gamer. So I guess the gamers, they what do you call, they transition into the pandemic way smoother than other people
Mm.
because they were already used to the virtual world. So, but yeah, that guy Vivek, my friend Vivek Babubani, he like sort of like showed a light to say, hey, virtual shows can also be fun. So yeah, I know I gave a very long answer, but yes, that's the whole transition.
Great, great. Before we move on to the next part of the questions, I actually want to read a couple of questions here that has already popped up on the chat box from our audience. Now, Billy is asking, who was your inspiration for being a comedian? So you spoke about watching that particular video from Russell Peters, but you didn't really mention if he was the inspiration to become a comedian.
Okay, so interestingly, I think initially I didn't have anyone. I just very simple. Like I enjoy laughing, and I think everyone enjoys laughing, right? Everyone wants to be happy. But what if I told you if you could make someone laugh, that's a whole different level. It just feels like you feel like a hero. It feels so nice. And not only that, when you're upstage and you look at different colors, people of different backgrounds, different occupations, different gender, and all that sitting together and just laughing. That's amazing, because you kill so many birds with one stone. So that was my why to move. But to answer, do I have a role model? Yes, I do have. So if you just talk about pure stand-up comedy, I like Jim Gaffigan. He's an American stand-up comedian, and he's not as popular as like Dave Chappelle and all that. But one of the reasons why I like him, Jim Gaffigan, is because he's one of the few American stand-up comedians who does clean material, and that's very rare in America to do clean material. And he's hilarious. He's just as hilarious, if you ask me, quite close to, or maybe even the same as Dave Chappelle. This is just in my books. But yeah, so stand-up comedy, I would say Jim Gaffigan. If you talk about all-rounder as like a package, then I would say Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah, he knows how to host a late night show. Then he stand-up comedy is also very good. He probably can do a podcast interview. He can probably hold an interview with anyone in the world. He also has a book. He is like an all-rounder kind of person, and he's also very intelligent. At the same time, he can also knows how to tell jokes. So very similar. That's literally the path that I want to take.
Nice. Do you, I guess my add-on question to that is, do you model your style to anyone, be it
I
local or foreign?
I try not to, because
Okay.
in stand-up comedy, one of the key things is originality. So I wouldn't want to. You'll be surprised that what do you call that? You have more to offer, because you see in stand-up, right? The reason why people attend is because they want to see you, and they don't want to see you try to be someone else. So that's why I try not to follow. Of course, you can use them as a reference, as like a role model to learn from them, but you wouldn't want to follow their personality and all that, and then eventually diverting from who you really are, because no one else can be like you. So you want to remain that uniqueness in you. Yeah.
A next question from Ali here. It says, "Hi Gajen, any advice for future Malaysian comedians?"
Okay, here's the thing. Okay, this answer I will only answer specifically, like as he mentioned, only for Malaysians, is because
Correct.
different countries will have different path, right? Because in America, everyone knows what stand-up. In Malaysia, people don't know. People just know what comedy is, right? So I guess if you want to do stand-up comedy, just treat it as a hobby. Right? At least you get your why correct. Because when you have a hobby, it means you genuinely like it, and it is, you're doing it purely based on passion. So that's number one. You need to find out your why. In fact, whatever that you do, you need to find out your why. Number two, don't start doing stand-up comedy your first show, and then just say I want to leave everything behind and take the big jump. That's like the dumbest thing ever. I still remember I attended a show where an open micer came up on stage. I just left my job as a real estate agent. I'm going to try out stand-up comedy, and all the comedians laugh and just say, "Good luck, dude. Your first show." Yeah. So You see, like for me, I did 600 shows part-time while being an engineering student and while working in Accenture before I could
Wow.
confidently make the jump. So a lot of people in the entertainment line, like I said, they are only good at what they're doing, and that's the reason why the failure rate is very high.
Mm,
Because I keep telling people, in whatever you do, whatever your niche is, you have to remember that there are a lot of things that you can't run away from. Number one, your health. Number two, time management, people management, uh, money management, right? So these four things you can't run away. Like, and these are the basics. And unfortunately, they don't teach this in school for some weird reason, right? You're going to learn Taylor series in maths. When do you use Taylor series? You can't remember. You learn how to dissect a frog. Have you ever spoken to a frog? No. You memorize the cow's stomach. Have you ever used that information? No. So it's a bit weird, our education system. And that's why, people who take the non 9 to 5 path, they will struggle a lot. So what I'm trying to say is you got to equip yourself with all those knowledge, right? Like for me, I track every single expense since the day I started working.
mm,
So from the day I started working until now, I've got like more than 20,000 transactions of data. Now, data is one king. Data is king, but data is not king if you don't know how to manage it.
yeah.
So I know what my expenses are, my monthly expenses are, and then I have a graph, and then I extrapolate the graph, right, to see whether my change in lifestyle is below my income. All right, and then I also track my part-time stand-up comedy salary. And initially, it was just a hobby. It was never a career. Only in my fourth year, when I extrapolated the graph. By the way, for the non-technical folks, maybe if there's anyone in arts, extrapolate means you just extend the line, right? So I had a gradient and I extend the line, and then I realized that the gradient of my part-time comedy income was steeper, right? And
Mm,
it could eventually overtake my expenses at one point in time. So that's when I realized, hey, after 4 years of doing stand-up comedy, this could be a career. So that's
mm,
when I started having a plan. And then in the end of 2018, I decided to leave my job because I started to hit all the check boxes. Number
mm,
one, my comedy income was more than my expenses. That's one. Number two, I already have 6 years of experience, which means I'm not starting from ground zero. Never start
yeah.
from ground zero. Yeah. Point number three is I already have my loans. I already got all my loans approved. That means I have a house loan, I have a car loan. And the reason why I'm saying this, even credit cards, the reason why I'm saying this, the moment you leave your 9 to 5 job, good luck going to the bank and applying for a loan. So
Mm,
yeah, so I know a lot of entertainers who are still living with their parents, who are still dependent and all of that, because they're not equipped with all this knowledge, right? People
mm,
struggle to be financially independent, right? What more to be financially well-to-do and successful and all that. So yeah,
yeah.
those were all the check boxes. What else was my checkbox? Yeah, the main reason why I left is because I was hitting a mental threshold in my work in Accenture. I was an IT consultant. Now,
Mm,
consultant is a general term. Also, it's also a position in the consulting world. In Accenture, a consultant means assistant manager, sort of, right? So you got analyst, which is like executive, and then consultant, assistant manager. Next one is manager, which is manager. So for me to move to a manager level, I needed to invest a lot of time because at that time I was doing a SAP project and I wasn't a subject matter expert. I know generally about SAP. SAP is a program for those
mhm.
non-IT folks. Yeah. I wasn't an expert, and for me to be a manager, I had to be an expert in one of it. So I was hitting a mental threshold. I couldn't be better at consulting. I couldn't be better at stand-up comedy. So I had to let go one of those. So that was my transition period. So I'm saying all this to those who want to be stand-up comedians is because if you don't know how to plan properly, if you're not an all-rounder, if you do not have investments, if you don't have savings, if you don't have enough financial knowledge and people management, you don't know how to speak the corporate language, you are going to struggle a lot. So
Mm.
I hope that answer was holistic and also applicable to
It,
yeah.
yeah, I think that the answer you gave is not just only relevant to someone who is looking to start as a comedian, but start off in life generally.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
exactly. Yeah,
very applicable. It's so applicable to our Rejuvenate audiences as well. As we reach out to youths and stuff like that. And those were amazing tips, Gajen, and definitely tips that I will recap later on. Now, also in recent times, I personally kind of noticed and kind of saw that you have also kind of I perhaps not I don't want to use the word rebranded, but you also moved into another sphere of what's relevant today. A lot of your content creation that I obviously follow um, touched a lot on mental well-being and mental health and things like that. Um, I suppose from being a funny guy, why are you talking about something so deep and so uh, serious, I suppose, or heavy. Let's not say serious, but heavy.
Yeah.
Is there a reason to that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Before I answer, I just want to say I'll be scratching my nose quite often because suddenly my nose started to become itchy. So just to let you all know. Okay, now to answer the question, the reason for that is since last year March, as in March 2020, I've been getting more messages like, "Hey Gajen, thanks for uploading the video. It really made my day. I've been depressed recently." And I started to receive more of these messages. An interesting fun fact that 50% of these messages are people who lost their jobs, and the remaining 50 are people who still have jobs. So what does that tell you? That depression does not pick anyone of financial status. So you could have a stable job and you still feel depressed. Could be many things, uncertain future, or maybe you're just not used to working between four walls, which is literally a prison, a luxury prison, if you think about it, a prison with Wi-Fi. So yeah, so that's when I started to realize, hey, this is something. I noticed a pattern and I started Googling and I realized that depression cases have actually tripled and quadrupled worldwide. This is like worldwide, right? And these are the kind of information that we don't see being highlighted by the news or any government or what. It's because, well, there are crazier statistics to be reported, like deaths of COVID. But so this is also very important, but yeah, maybe not as crazy as the deaths, but this depression could also lead to deaths. For example, in Malaysia, there are 3 to 4 people who commit suicide every single day. And mind you, that every time you see a stat like this, these are reported stats, which means the reported stats most of the time are never equal to the actual stats. There are going to be some, for example, like if there are 100 crime cases, that means more than 100 crime cases has happened because those 100 crime cases are the ones reported. This is just data for you. Yeah. So when I saw that stat, I was like, this is insane. And every single week I'll see a news like someone's on the Penang Bridge. Penang is a state in Malaysia for those non-Malaysians, which is also my hometown. So Penang Bridge, very long. Every week there's someone there just standing by the bridge. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, it's time to say something about this. So that's point number one. Point number two is during the first lockdown, the first 5 months, I had zero income. Now, interestingly, I didn't like go, I was sad, but I didn't go like, I didn't go to spiral down, into limbo and overthinking. I started feeling very depressed. I did feel sad. And during the 5 months, I was working ways, like literally whatever I explained to you, working how to do virtual comedy. And I was also doing my own virtual improv comedy show using vMix. So this was all inspired by that Hong Kong comedian, right? He said, okay, he made it so fun. And I started doing my own thing. So I also had effects on my show, sound effects. I even had some raindrops coming in, and I felt like a Hollywood director for a bit, even though it was shit. There was some latency because when I tried to follow the movements, they were. But whatever, I kept doing that, and my friends thought I was doing well financially because they saw my videos and they said, "Wow, you are very happy." So that sparked another thing. People link happiness to financial status. And then when I told them, actually, no, lah, bro, I actually had zero income. They said, then your shows that you do on Facebook, I said, bro, that one is free, bro. I need to have a donation link. And they donate as much as they want. And it's not much, by the way. It could even pay off vMix. vMix is like 4 figures in ringgit. Yeah, didn't even pay off. I was doing it out of passion. So that also sparked another thing that a lot of people who are financially more stable were less happier than me. Right? And I always tell people that you have a choice of being happy or not. And to also answer this question, a lot of people will be asking this: how do you survive? Savings. Like I said, you wanna take the harder path, a non 9 to 5 job. You got to buck up on your financial management skills. As simple as that. Yeah. So those were the two main reasons why I started uh, advocating like importance of mental health. Another reason is because it's not tangible, and things that are not tangible are very difficult. Like you talk about balanced thinking, it's difficult because where's the middle point? If I tell you what's the middle point of a 100 centimeters ruler, you will say 50 centimeters. Yeah, because it's tangible. But when you want to be balanced out, balanced thinking in non quantitative scenarios is going to be very difficult. So it's the same as mental health. If you get a physical cut, 2 centimeter cut, you just have to clean it, put a plaster, you're done. But what do you do if you get a 2 centimeter mental cut? First of all, you don't even know the length of it. You don't know the depth of it, how painful it
Yeah.
is, and you don't know what are the steps that needs to be taken. It's even the experts are still learning now. So that's when I said, hey, you know what? Maybe I still need to create this awareness on the importance of it. Yeah.
It's funny when you gave that example of the mental cut, right?
Yeah.
In the last edition of Rejuvenate, we were lucky enough to have Chepuan Sarima Ibrahim, who is the patron of Miasa, on the show as well, and she said this, which is still stuck in my head today. There is no blood test to tell you if you have got depression. Right? You can't go and do a blood test and then the doctor come back to you and say, oh yeah, your blood shows that you've got mental depression or depression for that matter, right? So it's also key that you mentioned as well. A lot of people relate the mental state with the financial status, which is, I can tell you honestly, is rubbish, right? If you are telling me the rich guy there is forever happy, I doubt so. I doubt so. So at the end of the day, Gajen, I think what you're doing is amazing. I'm also glad that people are reaching out to you in that sense as well, so they don't just see you as a comedian per se, and I think that is really a fantastic thing. I just want to jump very quickly back into the questions again. We've got a lot of people who likes to ask you questions. So here's one from Kwa. Taking Trevor Noah as an example, what is your opinion on comedians using their platform to preach their political ideology? Where we can come back closer to home and perhaps use Douglas Lim as an example as well.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
So I guess, again, I'm going to apply balanced thinking here, right? You got one group will say, stick to whatever that you do, right? So if you're doing comedy, just stick to comedy and don't do anything else. And then you've got another group that will say, why aren't you voicing out? So I think the idea is to find the middle ground, because you see, if you just stick to comedy, it doesn't work this way. Let me just ask you, have you nearly every single company, big companies that you see on, let's say, like Fortune 500, has done something that is out of their niche. They have done marathons, they have done charity, they've cleaned up something, they've done like like some upskilling workshop that is non-work related. Why? Because it's branding. Because at the end of the day, who do we connect to? We connect to humans. Okay, I'll give you an example. Like, I'm a stand-up comedian. Yes, I do post comedy stuff, but once in a while I'll post non-comedy stuff, and some of it, yeah, it may be related to politics. So I guess it depends on how much. If, let's say, the comedian is every day just politics and all that, then it's a bit too much on the other end. Like I said, this intangible stuff, right? So you want to be balanced. I think it's okay for people to share their political opinions, right? And if you share your political opinions, there is a way of doing it. Like, number one, I like to apply holistic thinking. You wouldn't want to be that person who just say one side of the story and be very skewed, make it very skewed, right? Not balanced. Number two is, I guess, when you say that, is it aligned with your personality? Are you just trying to write a particular trend at that point in time? So it's alignment with yourself. To me, I think before you do anything, is it aligned to what you do? Like, some of the things that I shared are also political related. I'll be frank with you. but it's all indirectly related to what I want to be and what I want to portray. For example, I once shared about like the thinking skills. Like I said, like our education system. Again, this is related to politics, but I said our education system is too skewed towards just gathering knowledge, which is insufficient because gathering knowledge is like adding horsepower to a car. But if you don't tune the ECU, I'm using this analogy, I apologize. But yeah, if you don't tune the ECU, the computer, then the car doesn't know what to do with the horsepower. You see some cars will spin on the road and doesn't go fast. Some cars with less
Yeah.
horsepower get off faster. Is because, and that's where the thinking skills come in. Because you throw in a lot of knowledge, but people don't know how to think. And yeah, so I did put out that video again related to politics, but I still balance it. And my main core is still comedy. So to answer the question, long story short, I think it's okay, but you got to balance it out, and you got to ask yourself, why are you expressing that particular thing on politics? Sometimes it could not be related to anything. Sometimes you're using that platform to just help out a current scenario that's really sad. So because at the end of the day, we're all humans. So if we just keep doing what we do, like, you're a comedian, you only do comedy, then you must well be a robot, isn't it? Because that's what a robot does. A robot doesn't have emotions. So you want to differentiate yourself to robots if you want to stay relevant in the IR 4.0. So I guess it's a balance. So it's okay, but you got to be balanced, not go too much, every day posting politics, and then you forget your what are you known for. So yeah, I hope I answered your question, Kwa. Yeah.
So Eugene here also pumped in a question while you were answering that. Thanks for sharing your experience, Gajen. How do you personally stay positive in these challenging times? So you spoke about 5 months, no revenue coming in, no income. I suppose the key word here would be you didn't give up.
Yeah. So interestingly, I started doing motivational sessions during the pandemic, and the key topic that I speak about is positive thinking, because it is something that I've applied and it has led me to happiness even during that 5 months of zero income. But I want to explain this, like I said, apply balanced thinking again. So if you notice my answers, right, I keep mentioning balanced thinking. It also aligns back to the word alignment, because then this guy is aligned, right? Because you want to work with people with people who are aligned, right? Imagine if someone's really disciplined, cares about the environment, and then after the meeting you see him throw a rubbish on the ground. That's misaligned, and you feel disconnected with that person.
Yeah.
So now apply balanced thinking, right? If you overdo positive thinking, it becomes toxic. For example, if let's say someone just broke up, someone just lost the business, someone is crying, right? And you go there, hey, think positive, like right after the thing has happened, then that's just silly lah. So like I said, it needs to be balanced. So when I say positive thinking, I'm not saying it's bad to cry. It's totally okay to cry. It's totally okay to feel sad. Feel the moment is totally fine. But like I said, if you do that for a long period of time, anything too much is not good. So too much positive thinking, not good. Too much of like dwelling in the past is also not good. And you want to find that balance of transitioning over. So now to answer your question, positive thinking. Fun fact, in every single scenario, whatever scenario it is, there will always be positive and negative takeaways. If you haven't found them, it's sad to say lack of creativity. As simple as that. Okay, that's point number one. So to prove this, right, if you look at the pandemic, a lot of negatives, right, we see on the news. But what if I told you there are tons of positives? I can even list them down right now. Number one, our environment healed. Number two, we had to relook at our hygiene practices. The world is like damn dirty, right? We don't wash our hands enough and all that. We cough without, covering. Some people wear the same clothes, so hygiene practices. Then number three, environment heal, and we started to get more data that, hey, maybe you should take a break every year. Some people are proposing this. Should the world take a break, like every year, just shut down for, I don't know, 2 days, maybe 1 week, something like that. And then fourth point, it accelerated digitalization in a lot of countries. Like in Malaysia, pre-pandemic, very few e-wallet stores. I mean, very few shops that use e-wallet. Now everyone's using e-wallet. Not everyone, but so many people.
The pasar malams are using it. Pasar pagis are using it. Yeah.
Exactly. More people are now embarking on this, which means their skill, their knowledge has gone up. Their skills have also gone up. So many, and I'm listing them down right now. When I had zero income, I was actually quite happy. I know it sounds crazy, but like I said, if you look at all the successful people, they all had a rock bottom story.
Mm.
Now, when I left my job, I didn't really have a rock bottom story because even though I left Accenture, my 2019 journey was damn good. I had some hiccups, but I'll just call it hiccups and now downfalls.
Mm.
So I never had like a rock bottom story. So when I had months of zero income, I said, okay, now this is serious because if this goes on for a few more months, it's going to be very critical. And if it goes on end of the year, I literally need to find a job. So my end month was actually December. That was my last month of zero income. And if I still cannot make it, then I'll need to go back to the corporate world. So I saw that downfall as an opportunity to rise up. Because when you have a downfall, you can either use it as baggage or you can use it as fuel.
Mm.
If you don't believe me, like if you watch Ronaldo's interviews, right, he plays better when people boo him.
Yeah.
And not only one pattern. If you watch on Netflix, the Last Dance, yes, Michael Jordan, he actually plays better when someone insults him personally.
Yeah.
They even showed clip where someone insulted him and then he became man of the match. So it's all it's all in here. Like Gandhi
Mm-hmm.
once said, if you want to change the world, you got to change here.
Mm.
Because this is where you process the data, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I started looking at it positive. So I took the 5 months to say, hey, it's time to me to reevaluate myself, to reinvent myself, right? Number two is this is not the first pandemic. People keep forgetting this. It's a periodic event that's going to happen and again, but we just don't know the frequency of it because it is
Yeah.
inconsistent. There's going to be another pandemic, FYI, if you all didn't know, but we just don't know when it is,
Yeah.
right? It could be 10 years, 20, maybe 100 years, we don't know. So if I don't find a solution now, uh, how am I going to find if it happens again, don't tell me I'm going to go back to square one. If I find a
Correct.
solution now, if it happens again, hey, I've got nothing to worry about. Point number three is I told myself, why would I want to focus on external forces that are out of my control? Because there were a lot of people that were just waiting for the government. Hey, I hope the government open, I hope. But these are all things that are out of your control. COVID cases out of your control. So don't focus on that. Focus on things that are in your control. Your time is within your control, your daily schedule. What are you doing with it? Right? And most people have at least a handphone, which is already a device that can go to the internet. If you don't have internet, there's Wi-Fi somewhere. So Tony Robbins once said a lot of people fail is because of lack of resourcefulness. So I started looking at the positive side. I used that time to learn vMix. I remember I spent two weeks, even though I don't use it now, but at least I have the knowledge. I go to a studio, I know what those folks are doing. And then also I did what do you call that? Trial and error on that virtual comedy, how it works. What else did I do? Yeah, I also did charity during my 5 months of zero income because it puts me to a higher position. I say, hey, if I have zero income and I can still give out, I think this will bring me way more success in the future. So again, also another point, financial management, the charity that I gave, the money that I gave, money where it doesn't impact my monthly expenses. So just to be aware, don't be like a fool, give everything and then you have nothing. So you want to manage that, right? So there were a lot of positive takeaways. And like I said, you just got to know how to come out with the table, positive and negative, and be creative about it. Every scenario, there's always both sides.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Amazing, Gajen. I was going to ask you if you have any advice for our listeners, our viewers here today, but I think throughout the entire show, you have dropped lots of gems for everyone to pick up. Fantastic. I mean, it's great for people to see this other side of Gajen Nad, not the virtual comedian now, but more of the guy who really cares, I suppose, and the guy who, just like our tagline for edition 3, inspiring for tomorrow. And with that, Gajen, if I were to walk into a show of yours today, can you just kind of replicate that experience for us, just to wrap things up tonight?
Okay. Maybe I'll tell you one of my early jokes. So remember, like I said just now, a lot of the jokes that I said in the first 4 to 5 years, I've actually what do you call that? I've actually retired them. But there were few jokes, very, very few, that could be brought over and they like have zero failure rate. So I'm going to share with you a one-liner joke which I wrote during my first few years, and until today I still do it for my clients, and they all like it, right? So I'm a movie guy, ladies and gentlemen. I enjoy watching movies. One of my favorite movies is Taken, right? If you haven't watched Taken, it's a movie where Liam Neeson plays the father, daughter gets taken away, kidnapped. But I was thinking the other day, if my father were to act as Liam Neeson and I would act as his child, the title of the movie would have been Given. And the sequel to that movie will be called Gone. And the sequel to that movie will be called Given Back. Shortest trilogy ever, ladies and gentlemen. I will be tied up in front of my own house. And my father will be like, wow, Gajen, even the kidnappers did not want you. Good job. So yeah, that's a one-liner joke which I wrote. One of the few jokes where it gets my approval of today. So it is stunning, yeah. Even though I've retired majority of the jokes, I look back at one of my old videos, even like some of my old TEDx videos, and they were crap. So please do not watch my TEDx videos. They were all
Yeah,
bullshit
yeah.
jokes, yeah.
We forgot to mention this. Gajen is a 3 times, TEDx speaker. So amazing. Like I said, multi-talented. Gajen, there was also a fantastic joke as well. Please don't retire that anytime soon. I think a lot of people, can relate to that as well.
That one, there's some time dependency on it because I mentioned Taken. So maybe I could use that for another maximum 5 years. After that, the movie will be quite old, and then the new generation may not get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Gajen, it's fantastic to have you on Rejuvenate 3. It's so amazing to end the day with so much laughter. You really, it has been a long and tiring day for me, but this conversation with you has obviously energized me, and obviously we have got day 2 of Rejuvenate Edition 3 tomorrow as well. And it's just so fantastic to catch up with you again, and if it's not for the pandemic, we will be doing this over a cup of coffee, definitely.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
it is so fantastic to be with you on the show, and thank you so much for agreeing to do this and supporting Rejuvenate Edition 3. And
Yeah.
Gajen, with that, I salute you. I say thank you. I just want to wish you well, stay safe, and take care. And I hope our viewers, our audiences here today, if you ever need a virtual comedian, be it for yourself or for your company or anything of that sort, please get in touch with Gajen. His contact details are available on the Rejuvenate platform as well under his bio. So do check him out. Gajen is a true Malaysian gem. And with
Yeah,
that,
thanks a lot,
Gajen,
Andrew. Yeah.
thank you so much.
Thanks, Andrew, and thanks to the audience as well. Thank you.
All right. See you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hi, my name is Aru. I am one of the researchers and co-founders at Klima Action Malaysia, which is a climate justice movement here based in Kuala Lumpur. I would like to wish everyone Happy Nationals Day. Selamat Hari Kebangsaan.
Greetings all, it's Conso Titus here from Melbourne, Australia. Just dropping a short little video message here to my friend Andrew Tai and all his colleagues at Synapse at the Malaysia's premier virtual event solution provider. Selamat Hari Kebangsaan to all of you. Wishing you all a safe, healthy Malaysian Independence Day on the 31st of August. Please take care of each other and enjoy all the Independence Day celebrations. See you soon.
Hello all, this is Craig Langley. I run a global business development agency based near London, and I'd just like to wish everyone a very happy National Day. Selamat Hari Kebangsaan.
Hi everyone, my name is Ria Eichmann. I'm a global skills coach and an intercultural trainer based in Brisbane, Australia. I would like to wish you all a happy National Day. Selamat Hari Kebangsaan.
Hello everyone, my name is Teddy Swapcheva, CEO at Innovate Circular and Sustainable and founder at So, based in Oslo, Norway. I would like to wish you a wonderful national celebration. Selamat Hari Kebangsaan.
Hey everyone, Tyler Chin here, interview coach and founder of Transform Cultures. Just want to stop by and wish all my fellow Malaysians a selamat menyambut Hari Kebangsaan. Stay safe everyone and hope all is well with you.
Hi everyone, my name is Siobhan Hassan. I am a transformational life and leadership coach based in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I would like to take this opportunity to wish Malaysians everywhere a happy National Day. Selamat Hari Kebangsaan.
Happy National Day, Malaysia! Selamat Hari Kebangsaan. I'm Serena, founder and CEO of Care Bear, a mental health technology startup and social enterprise based here in Hong Kong, where we alleviate depressive symptoms among youth. I hope all of you prosperity and most importantly, good health, and I wish you guys all the best. Bye!